This video is going to show you how to establish a property's market value based on the most recently closed comparables. The first thing that you want to do is go into the RealTrack system and click on tax. The reason you go to tax is because you want to get the information from the tax record with regard to the property size, how many bedrooms, and how many bathrooms. And what you'll learn is the information in tax is not always going to be accurate. So this is just a starting point. Once you get to tax, you'll notice the default is name. If you know the owner's name, enter the last name, then the first name. If you don't know the owner's name, enter the street address, and it will automatically, once you start to enter it, pop up for you based on the county that you selected. Okay, once you select it, enter the property address, hit submit, and then the property record will pop up here. And here we see this property that we're looking at is 1032 Pawnee Trail. Gives you the owner's information down here on the right, and then it also gives you the square footage and other information that you're going to need about the property in order to do the comparative market analysis, the 3 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, and the year that it was built. Now that you've got that pulled up, tax also gives you a quick way to be able to determine value, and that's by clicking on comparables. Now, you always want a multifaceted approach when you're establishing value. You're going to be working with buyers, and they're going to want to know whether or not the property is worth what the list price is saying it is and what they should offer. This is when you come to tax, you look at comparables, but then you don't stop there. Similarly, when you're getting ready to take a listing, you do the same thing. You come to tax, you see what it says about the value in comparables, but again, you don't stop here. It gives you a quick snapshot, okay, around $97.81 a foot, and if you were to stop here, you would probably say, what, $97.81 a foot, and then there's 1,680 square feet. So let's do that math real quick. See here, see 97, what was it, 97.81, and then we have 1,680 square feet. You would say 164,320 and 80 cents is about what the market value is, but you would be wrong if that's where you stopped. That's why I want to emphasize, when you come into tax, it's just a one-stop shop, not a one-stop shop. You're just coming here and you're going to go and do something else in order to establish value before you advise your client, either your buyer client or your listing client. All right, so now you've got an idea of what tax is, and you can also go in here and you can kind of narrow down the criteria in here and play around with it and kind of, you know, get a little closer on value from that way. You can definitely use that. But I also am going to show you another search mechanism in order to be able to determine value. So once you've gotten into tax and gotten the snapshot, come back over to the MLS, enter the property address, and go to the map tab, then enter the property address. Gotta take the number lock off. There we go. Be sure to enter the zip code. If you don't enter the zip code, what will happen is you'll end up in another country on your map. Once you've entered the property address and zip code, click on the little icon, the little hour, whatever that thing is, icon, and then use the plus over here to zoom in. Okay, once you zoom in, it'll actually give you the street names a little bit more clearly so you can see exactly that you're in the right spot. Next, click on draw. Then radius. You have several options there. For this lesson, we're going to use the radius drawing tool. We're going to left click on the star in the center, and we're going to try to pull it out to about a mile. All right, I almost got there, but not quite. So I'm going to do it again, and you may end up having to do this a couple of times just to get it as close to a mile as you can. I'm going to want it a little bit more. There we go. There we go, 1.1 miles. Now the next thing we want to do is go select the statuses of the properties, the comparables that we want to compare our subject property to. Now, this is where you want to pull in your active, the things that are out there under contract, showing, under contract, not showing, and the ones that have closed. When you look at the ones that have closed, it's good to start by looking at the most recent 6 months. The other criteria that you want to input, you'll get from the actual property record. Square footage here, 1,680 square feet. So we want to look, we're going to give it a range. We're going to look at everything that's sold or that's active that has 1,500 to 1,800 square feet. And we have a 3-bedroom, 2-bath property. Actually, it's a 3-bedroom, 2.5-bath property. So we want to come over here and enter 3 for the minimum bedrooms and 3 for the maximum bedrooms, so that we pull only 3 bedrooms. And we don't have the half bath option here, so we just want to enter at least 2 bedrooms and leave the maximum field blank. Now, we're not going to input garage, year built, acreage, and all that. We're going to leave that be for right now, because the more criteria you put in, the less results you're going to have. So if we just put the main things in, square footage, number of bedrooms, and number of bathrooms, we should have a good amount of criteria to work with. The next thing you want to do after you've selected your criteria is save. Why? Because you're likely going to come back to this search at some point in the future. So I'm going to save this as the 1032 Pawnee Trail search. That way, if I ever need to come back in and get a quick update on value, maybe to see if there's anything that's come on the market, it's already done. I don't have to redraw my circle or anything like that. And if you ever want to find it, you just click on Save Search. There it is, and just pull it right up. Okay, and then click on Load. You'll click here if you want to pull it up, and then load it, and it'll be right there. But we're already in it, so we're not going to worry about that now. We've got it saved. Next, what we want to do is search. Awesome. What you always want to see is at least 3 red icons. Red means closed, green means active, yellow means under contract. But if you don't have at least 3 comparables, then you don't have enough to be able to make an analysis or make a determination. So then what you would need to do is expand your radius or go back further than 6 months. Right now, remember I said I started at 6 months, and the reason for that is because a year ago, the market was completely different. The market is too hot, too volatile to depend on values from a year ago. So that's why I started off looking at what has sold in the last 6 months. Now that we've gotten that established, you can do a couple of things. You can click on each of these, and it'll give you a kind of thumbnail shot of what sold, and you can click on and link to the MLS sheet. But you can see here this one sold May 23rd for $212,000. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. We know it's got about the same amount of square footage because we did this range over here when we set up the criteria initially. We see here that there's an active property out there for $187,500, and it's got about 1,600 square feet, but it doesn't have that half bath like ours does. Now you'll recall when we looked at the comparables, when we looked at it through the tax method, when we clicked on comparables there, it gave us about a $97 square foot range, right? If I had to stop there, what did I do? A disservice to my client, because right now there's a property that is basically the same size as my property that I'm potentially getting ready to list, and it doesn't even have a half bath, and it's on the market for $187,500. So that is a clear example of why you do not stop with the tax comparable valuation method. You've got to come here if you want to do if you want to be of service to your client. You've got to do it. Otherwise, you may end up leaving money on the table for them. All right, so now that you've identified that you do have enough comps to work with, you have 4, it looks like 5 closed listings, 1 active listing, and then 2 pending listings. The first thing as a seasoned agent that I see here is opportunity. And if you picked up on it already, if you haven't picked up on it already, I hope you have, there's nothing else on the market. There's only 1 active property on the market. So I am going to incorporate that into my valuation. Why? Law of economics. Limited supply, and where there's demand is unchanged or increased, that has an upward pressure on price. And this gives an opportunity for you as an agent, if you're on the listing side, that gives you an opportunity to cheat, what I call cheat the market, okay? If there's nothing else available but this one, and I come on the market and I'm closer to all these other comps, I know there's demand here because look, there's been 5 sales in the last 6 months. Actually, there's 5, and it looks like there's 3 that are under contract. That means there's buyers waiting for a property to come on the market in that area. So I'm going to go over here to list and look at things more closely. I'm going to click on all of the listings by clicking the box here. Then I'm going to go immediately to CMA. Now there's a way you can do a fancier CMA, but right now all I'm doing is trying to get an idea of what this property should be listed for, what my recommendation would be. Again, I haven't seen the property, so I have to go put my eyes on it to kind of give my final. And when you do this, you always want to give that disclaimer to your client. Look, I haven't seen your property. This is when you're about to list it, that is. I haven't seen the property, but I'm going to give you the numbers. Now, if I come out and it looks awesome, then that number can change a little bit, or it could stay the same. But likewise, if I come and see the property, and then upon previewing it, it's not show quality, then I may need to adjust that number. Always give yourself a wiggle room either way. Okay, so now we see here that there's an active property here on Waterford, and I happen to know that's not necessarily, it's within a mile, but this is on the Old Hickory side. The property that I'm getting ready to list is actually in the heart of Madison. So knowing little things like that about your vicinity is going to be important in playing, it's going to play an important role in valuation. If you think this property is a real true comparable just because it's located within a mile, you would be wrong, because Cumberland Station is a whole complete subdivision than this Waterford subdivision. It's a whole different location, so to speak, even though it's within that mile. So then we see here there's properties that are under contract, but they're still showing, and here are those properties. What I'm looking for here is average sales price or list price per foot. I see here the active properties are listed at $117.19 a foot. The ones that are under contract are around the same, but that's not the most important thing. The most important thing is what has closed. Why is this important? Because 99.9% of your buyers are going to be dependent upon financing from a bank. And the bank is going to order an appraisal. And the appraiser is going to do something very similar to what I've just done. Plot the property, draw a radius around it, see what's happened within that radius, and make adjustments accordingly based on what has sold. No one cares when it comes to valuation about what things are listed for. The only thing that matters is what has sold. Okay, so now that we've got that established, we just want to focus on the quick and easy of the average sales price per foot for those that have sold in the last 6 months. And right here we see $108.79. So I'm going to go real quick to my calculator. Already it's a little bit more than the $97.81 that we got from tax. Do you see that? You see the importance of why you do a multifaceted approach to valuation? You've got to do that. I don't care if you're working with a buyer or a seller. If you don't do that, you're going to leave money on the table or potentially advise a buyer to make an offer that is not in line with the market, and that could lose them the property, or they could end up paying too much and have buyer's remorse, and you don't want that. So we know that our property has 1,680 square feet, and we know the average sales price per foot of these properties within a mile is $108.79. Well, look at there, $182,767. But wait a minute, when I went to the comparables in tax, that number is nowhere near that. So if I just stop there, and many agents come and get their comps from here and they stop, and you know, good for them. But with my clients, I want to always get them the highest and best for their property, and that may mean spending a little bit more time investigating value, but hey, it's worth it in the end. So right now I have an idea of what the property is worth. I still haven't seen the property. So that would be something that you as an agent would want to go do, is to go see the property, smell the property, and see if this price is justifiable. Now, the other thing that you want to do once you've done that, once you've pulled these properties up, is look at them. There's the links to the MLS sheets. Let's go take a look at the ones that have closed and see what they look like, how they showed, and then once you go out to see the property you're about to list, then you'll be able to have a good frame of reference on what these other properties, and you'll be very knowledgeable when you speak with your clients. And they say, well, you know what? I know you want to list at 185 or whatever the case may be, but I really want to list at 190. I think my property is really going to go for 190. Well, based on your research, you will be able to advise them that, well, the house down the street sold for 190 because it has a screened-in porch and a privacy fence, and your home doesn't, or it's 2 years newer than your home, or whatever the case may be. But if you don't do that due diligence, when you get into the listing appointment, you're going to get beat down by the seller because they're going to think they know more than you. You are the expert. You are the one who got your real estate license. You're the one who has the access to information. You need to walk in with that information on your shoulder, confidently so, telling them this is what the market shows us. If you do list higher than the market says, without having justified that price, we will sit. And time is money in real estate. And you need to have that confidence when you walk in. And the only way you're going to have it is if you've done this due diligence. On the buy side, when you're about to make an offer, especially in the market that we're in right now with a strong seller's market, if you're working with a buyer who is going to come put an offer in on this listing and they want to come in at 175, you can advise your buyer, look, this is probably not going to get us this offer, this property, simply because A, B, C, and D. So you see how important it is to go through the process of doing your due diligence to see what properties have sold within a mile, doing the map, drawing the radius around the property, and then going and looking at the property record to get your criteria as closely in line with your subject property as possible. So that's the real quick way of, you know, when you're out there, you guys are going to be out there, you're going to start working with buyers, you're going to start taking listings. These are the steps that I take before I do any type of recommendation on price. Never try to do it off the cuff. Always come in, use your resources, use your tools, and you will be just fine. Thanks so much for paying attention. We'll talk with you soon.